which questioned if it's okay for groups to push for, quote, allegiance to a foreign country. Just days after those comments, the House overwhelmingly passed an anti-hate resolution that condemns antisemitism, Islamophobia, and other forms of bigotry. 23 Republicans voted no, accusing the Democrats of watering the resolution down. Speaker Nancy Pelosi disagreed.
I don't think it watered down the anti-Semitic language at all. I think it strengthened it. And it isn't about anybody who hates anybody. It's about people who act upon their hatred. And that is what we have no place for against anyone in our country. And it is part of our values that we convey to the rest of the world.
All right, let's talk about all this. Joining me right now, CNN's political commentators Maria Cardona and Doug Heye, and CNN presidential historian Tim Naftali. Good to see all of you. I'm good. So, Tim, you first. Were Democrats effective in trying to put all of this behind them?
Well, we'll see. We'll see in the extent to which Republicans make use of it. This is an effective or potentially effective issue for Republicans.
In what way? What do you mean?
In that the state of Israel, many Americans from various faiths, for various reasons, supported the state of Israel. And the Democratic Party does not want to appear to be opposed to the state of Israel. What I suspect Speaker Pelosi will try to do is to encourage Representative Omar to differentiate between comments that criticize the Netanyahu government, and there are many Democrats that would criticize the Netanyahu government for not participating in the peace process, and comments that appear to be anti-Semitic. So the real test of the extent to which Speaker Pelosi can rein in the caucus is what happens going forward in terms of the comments we hear from Representative Omar. So that's what I'm looking to see.
And so, Doug, listen to how the president, characterized Democrats overall yesterday.
I thought that vote was a disgrace, and so does everybody else if you get an honest answer. If you get an honest answer from politicians, they thought it was a disgrace. The Democrats have become an anti-Israel party. They've become an anti-Jewish party.
So, Doug, how do you square the president's comments with a unanimous vote to pass a resolution against bigotry overall by the Democrats?
Well, unfortunately, as we've seen so many times, Trump is going to Trump. And he's going to say something outrageous that really takes our eye off where the ball should be. We saw repeated anti-Semitic comments, not comments against Israeli policy, but against Jews and questions of dual loyalty that should be very easy to condemn, and very easy to condemn as they are, instead of basically a watered-down statement that says by the House, we like things that are good and we don't like things that are bad. Unfortunately, when 23 Republicans vote against it, it takes that issue away from Republicans that politically could be very advantageous, and also emphasizes not just the question of the comments themselves, but one thing that Republicans always talk about with Nancy Pelosi is her effectiveness within the caucus, the Democratic caucus. It's very clear that she got rolled on this. It's something that we haven't seen from happen to Nancy Pelosi before. If there are cracks in the Democratic Party, Republicans should want to exploit it instead of giving them cover.
And so, Doug, explain, what does that mean it's watered down if it becomes all-encompassing?
Well, I think it was very clear what the Congresswoman's statements were about. That would be very easy to condemn. The problem was she by her own caucus, was rolled, Nancy Pelosi that is, was rolled into, well, we can't just criticize this Congresswoman. We have to say this is bad, that is bad, everything is bad. Again, that should be very easy for everyone to vote for. We like things that are good and we don't like things that are bad. But then 23
Republicans did not, and so how bad does that look?
I think that was a bad vote for Republicans to take, Congressman Yoho included.
So Maria, freshman Representative Omar, she has that to answer to. She handled it in the way that she saw fit. And then there's more this time, her comments about President Obama, or being construed as her comments about President Obama calling his hope and change message, a mirage in Politico. What is ultimately going to be the best way for Democrats to handle, her comments and how she's handling it? And by the way, even after the Politico article, she says she's has said, according to CNN's reporting, that her words have been taken out of context. Even her spokesperson says, that she was not speaking against President Obama, that she is an Obama fan.
Right. Look, here's the bottom line, Fred. And I actually think that Nancy was not rolled and that she handled it quite well. Here's the bottom line. The Democrats in November elected the most diverse Congress in history. That is a good thing for the party. That is a good thing for America. We are representing all of the multifaceted communities in this country that up until now, many of them have been marginalized and have not had a voice at the table. They now have a voice at the table, and they have power in the halls of Congress. That means, by definition, that our party is going to be more raucous, rambunctious, and sometimes messy. But in my book, that is a great thing. And what we did with passing this resolution that is all-encompassing, it was not watered down, it was beefed up. It was beefed up to include all the kinds of hatred and bigotry that we have seen that all of these communities that are now represented in Congress have been having to deal with. Because why? Because President Trump himself has legitimized that kind of hate speech, and I don't think Republicans will have a leg to stand on, even on anti-Semitism, when the president himself has been the tweeter-in-chief of anti-Semitic tropes, and when he stood up in Charlottesville and said there are good people on both sides, when one of those sides was chanting, Jews will not replace us. Where's the resolution condemning that?
And Tim, on the issue of, speaking candidly, former Chief of Staff John Kelly has done just that when he was at Duke University. He talked about what it was to work for the president, working out of the White House, saying, essentially it wasn't his most favorite, job, but he is certainly, married to what it is to be a civil servant. And he also said, a marquee campaign issue, the wall, is a waste of money. What do you make of this kind of candor now that he has left the White House?
Well, I just can't wait to see the materials from the administration to learn what bad ideas General Kelly stopped. We don't know the extent to which we don't know the extent to which he was. So meaning you're saying it's one thing to speak after you've left, but then how did you wield your power once you were there in the White House? Exactly, and we don't know yet. We can't make that judgment. But look.